The sound of a pen clicking echoed faintly in the room. Jack Keller blinked slowly, his eyes adjusting to the soft, golden glow of the chandelier above. The first thing he noticed was the expensive leather chair beneath him, the smooth feel of mahogany against his fingertips, and the faint scent of perfume lingering in the air. "This isn't my apartment." Memories, not his own, flooded into his mind in violent waves. Names, dates, events, like someone had torn open the pages of a book and shoved them into his head. His chest tightened as he pieced them together. He had been transmigrated, dropped into a story, and not just any story. Jack knew this plot. He had read it before, a cliché modern CEO romance where the male lead, the original Jack Keller, was a pathetic figure. The foolish husband abandoned by his ambitious CEO wife, Judy. According to the story, Judy would divorce him, and Jack would cling like a dog, begging her not to leave. She would humiliate him, while her new assistant Peter, a young, handsome man who pretended to be weak and helpless, would win her heart. The old Jack was doomed to fade into irrelevance, abandoned, forgotten. But now, things were different, because he was here. Jack, a cold, sharp voice broke his thoughts. He lifted his gaze. Across the polished oak desk sat Judy Keller, his wife. No, not his wife. The wife of the man whose body I now occupy. She was stunning, no doubt. Long chestnut hair tied neatly in a bun, a white blouse that hugged her curves, black skirt crisp and elegant, and heels that tapped impatiently against the floor. Her face was beautiful in the way a winter landscape was beautiful, cold, flawless, untouchable. On the desk lay a set of papers. Thick, neatly stacked, official. "Sign them," Judy said flatly, sliding the documents toward him. "Our marriage has no meaning anymore. I've already prepared the divorce agreement. You don't need to embarrass yourself by pretending this relationship can be saved." Her tone was practiced indifference, but there was a spark in her eyes, expectation. She was waiting for him to panic, to beg, to grab her hands desperately like in the original story. In the book, this was where the downfall began. But Jack laughed. A low, quiet chuckle escaped him before he could stop it. Judy's brows furrowed. "What's so funny?" she asked, her voice edged with irritation. Jack leaned back in the chair, his expression calm, almost amused. "Nothing. I was just thinking how predictable this all is." She narrowed her eyes. "Stop playing games, Jack. Sign the papers." Without hesitation, Jack picked up the pen. His movements were steady, decisive. In a single stroke, he scrawled his name across the divorce agreement, flipped to the next page, and signed again. Each flourish of ink was sharp, final, absolute. When he set the pen down, silence filled the office. Judy stared at the signed papers, as if she couldn't comprehend what she was seeing. "You actually signed it?" "Yes," Jack said simply. He rose from the chair, buttoning his suit jacket with smooth precision. "Why wouldn't I?" "You." Judy's composure faltered. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. "You're not going to try to stop me?" Jack smiled faintly. His eyes met hers, calm but piercing. "You've already made your choice, haven't you? What's the point of clinging to someone who doesn't want to stay?" Her lips parted, but no words came. The script was broken. In a novel, Jack would have fallen to his knees by now, begging, humiliating himself while Judy sneered. But this Jack, the new Jack, refused to play the fool. Gathering his phone and wallet, Jack walked toward the door. Each step was measured, confident, the steps of a man who carried no burden of regret. At the doorway, he paused, glancing back just once. "Judy," he said softly, "thank you for setting me free." And then he was gone. The door clicked shut behind him, leaving Judy alone in her office. For a long time, she didn't move. Her fingers hovered above the signed papers, her thoughts in disarray. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She had imagined scenes of Jack groveling, imagined how she would toss cruel words at him to sever their bond completely. She had expected tears, despair, humiliation. Instead, she was the one left unsettled, her chest tight with a strange, unfamiliar discomfort. Why didn't he even try to fight? Meanwhile, Jack strode down the marble-floor hallway, his mind racing but his steps unyielding. He could still feel fragments of the novel's plot lingering like ghostly whispers in his head, trying to pull him back into the role of the pitiful husband. But he wouldn't bend. Not this time. He stepped out into the cool evening air, the city skyline stretching before him. The glass towers glimmered in the distance, a jungle of ambition and greed. Somewhere in those towers sat Judy's company, the empire they had co-founded, now firmly in her control. But Jack didn't feel bitterness. He felt something else, clarity. If the story wanted him to crawl, he would rise instead. If it wanted him to fade, he would blaze brighter than ever. He took a deep breath, the night air crisp and sharp in his lungs. A strange sensation rippled through his mind, like gears clicking into place. His thoughts sharpened, calculations forming effortlessly. Business models, financial forecasts, market opportunities, they unfolded in his head like puzzle pieces assembling themselves. A gift, a cheat, an edge. Perhaps it was the will of whatever power had thrown him here. Perhaps it was his reward for rejecting the script. Whatever it was, Jack knew one thing with absolute certainty. This world would not see him as a pathetic man abandoned by his wife. This world would see him as a king. And when the time came, he would leave it behind with no regrets. The hotel room was quiet, save for the faint hum of the air conditioner. Jack sat at the desk, a cup of untouched coffee cooling by his hand, and stared at the city lights beyond the window. He had left Judy's office hours ago, but her stunned expression still lingered in his mind. The way her lips parted, unable to form words when he signed without hesitation. Jack exhaled slowly, leaning back in his chair. "So this is the script? Huh?" he murmured. Fragments of memory, his and not his, collided in his head. He saw flashes of the original Jack Keller, desperate, pathetic, chasing Judy like a shadow, swallowing humiliation after humiliation as she grew closer to Peter. He remembered the late nights, the drunken pleas, the scene where Jack kneeled in the rain outside Judy's office while she drove away in Peter's car. Pathetic, utterly pathetic. Jack clenched his jaw. That won't be me. Not now. Not ever. The universe hadn't thrown him into this book just to watch him play the fool. No, there had to be a reason. And if the world wanted him to be the pitiful supporting character, he would flip the board entirely. He pulled the divorce agreement from his bag and studied the signature he had left behind. Sharp, clean, absolute. It felt symbolic, as if he had severed not just his marriage, but also the invisible chains binding him to the story's plot. His thoughts sharpened again, almost unnaturally. He picked up a pen and began scribbling on a notepad. Market charts, industry names, growth trends, data flowed into his mind as though downloaded from an invisible database. Medical technology, renewable energy, software solutions, logistics. These are the industries that will dominate the next decade. How did he know that? He wasn't sure, but the knowledge was clear, undeniable. He could almost see the future trajectory of businesses. It was as if his brain had been rewired, upgraded. Jack tapped the pen against the paper, his mind already spinning strategies. Judy thought she had cast him aside. In the book, she had been destined to rise to greater heights, her company expanding across borders while Jack faded. But if he moved first, if he struck boldly, then he could build something even larger. A smile tugged at his lips. Los Angeles, he whispered. In the novel, Los Angeles had been the setting of Judy's company's greatest victory, a partnership deal that allowed her to dominate the North American market. That deal had been the turning point, the proof of her brilliance. But Jack had no intention of letting her repeat the script. He would go there first. He would claim it for himself. The next morning, Jack stood at the airport with a single suitcase. He had liquidated what assets he could quickly access, just enough to get him started. The rest didn't matter. As he passed through the terminal, he caught a glimpse of his reflection in the glass. The man looking back at him wasn't the beaten-down husband of Judy Keller. He was sharper, more alive. His eyes carried determination. His posture radiated confidence. When he boarded the plane, he left behind not just a city, but an entire fate. Meanwhile, in her office, Judy Keller sat at her desk with the divorce papers still lying in front of her. Her assistant knocked softly. "President Keller, should I file these?"